so that we can share this on our YouTube and on our website under the frequently asked questions page that we will produce for this event. But welcome to Thursday Roundtable for tonight, July 10th. I am Heather Wilson, and this is Demystifying the Design Awards. Now, I left it like nice and simple like that too, because this applies to our program very specifically, but you'll find that it probably applies to many different design award submission processes around AIA. So transferable skills are here. Hello, hello. All right. I do like to start all of our presentations, and we'll do that now with our community agreements. These were developed by our co-ed members for everyone in AIA Oregon. We use them for our programs and events. I won't read every word to you, but I will start with our little preamble, which is that we seek a community and culture that is respectful, comfortable, open, curious, inclusive, and kind. These community agreements help us identify concrete ways to create a cohesive and safe space to exchange ideas, enable us to interact more cooperatively, and keep us on track. Those listing that you see there are not just good ways we think to conduct our meetings and have good conversation. They're also not bad ways to behave out in the world. So we hope you take these with you. I like to just lay out where we're headed so you kind of have an idea of what we'll talk about tonight. This is our intro and welcome where we are, but we will go over why we even do the design awards. Like, I'm sure that's a question people have, like, why? Why do we have these? And maybe how they came about. I know some of the history. I have been with AIA for a long time, although some of the history of AIA Portland and Oregon, there may be members on the call here like Kent who have a deeper history than I do with the association and could speak to some things, but in general, we'll go over why in broad terms why we have the program, who juries the event and how the awards and how that happens. Where, like I said, please stop and ask questions as you need. And then we'll wrap up with some tips for success and an opportunity for more formal questions and answers. I am Heather Wilson. I am been with AIA Oregon since 2005 when I started as a programs and communications manager for AIA North Carolina. Programs happened to include the Design Awards program. So I've been doing this since at least 2005, but actually before that, when I had a career in urban planning, I and in urban architectural firms. One of the things firms often did was put together design awards. And one of the things they often did was use the planners and anybody else they didn't have working on projects to complete those awards projects. So that was one of my projects every year, actually, for the small firms that I worked for in Cincinnati, Ohio, was to try and help prepare their design awards. And so I've seen these processes from when we started with slides in carousels that, slide pages that people were submitting in binders. We went through many changes from slides to CDs to zip disks and jump drives, and here we are at digital submission. But I've been here the whole time. And then I moved from North Carolina to the executive vice president of AIA Utah from 2011 to 2021, where I also administered design awards programs, and I've been with AIA Oregon since 2021. So came in middle end of pandemic when we were still presenting these online and also going through the rest of our governance shift from several chapters in the state to one state chapter with several sections. And so we'll talk, like I said, briefly about the history of awards in Oregon and how that's shaken out. So just briefly, I have a background in architecture, art planning by graduation of the University of Cincinnati. I did spend some time as a certified planner, practicing privately, and have been appointed to things like planning commissions for state history, stuff like that. So I have some perspective on like why we do celebrate excellence and how we get to these type of conversations about how we award people and why it matters in the community. So I think it's a great, by the way, program that you already had going when I arrived, and we just hope to steward and continue. And with that, I'm going to stop the share here for just a moment because, like I said, we don't have a lot of people on tonight. And I think it'd be just fine for us to introduce each other really quick. So I'll kick it to Paul. And then if after each person introduces themselves, if you'll just kick it to somebody else, we'll get to know each other quickly.
Great. As Tyler said, my name is Paul. I'm the member experience manager here at AIA Oregon. And fundamentally, what that means is helping people get more value out of their membership and creating new programs if there are areas wherein people aren't getting their needs serviced by us. So that's me, and I'll kick off to Christy.
Hello, Christy Edmark with TVA Architects, and I'm the Marketing and Business Development Director here. Been here at TVA for about 3 years. Prior to that, about 20 years, split around firms in Portland for architecture firms. So I've done these awards a few times. Kent?
Kent Duffy. I'm retired in my glory. You can see some of my paintings behind me, but I was with SRG for 28 years, and I was a principal there, and I'm a past president of AIA Portland, and I am a fellow, and but just remaining active at the fellows committee level.
How about we kick it?
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Pick. I was just going to remind you to pick somebody.
I think Katrina.
Hi, I'm Katrina Tran. I'm a freelance marketing and communications manager here in town. I've been helping firms do these awards for about 8 years now. And yeah, I will kick it to Jason.
Thanks, Katrina. Jason Karam, owner of Process Architecture in Portland, Oregon. And actually, it's been a while. I worked with Kent on Patriot Hall while at SRG a long time ago. So always fun to see that. And yeah, we do multifamily K through 12 and public projects, and this is helpful sitting in on something like this. So I will kick it over. Oh, my screen just kind of changed. Annika, looks like you're next on my list here. And you might be muted. Yeah, I don't know if we can hear you.
Cannot hear you yet. I don't see mute on, so it's not that.
I could introduce Annika to a certain extent. I've worked with her. She works at OTAC. Forgive me, Annika. I know I said it wrong once before. They do architecture work, planning, design, and I think also engineering. And Annika's a marketing coordinator there.
Can you hear me now?
Awesome.
Yes.
Yes. Fabulous.
I didn't realize I was going to have to introduce myself. Yes, all of that is correct.
Nice to meet you. And thank you. Yeah, it was a little impromptu there. It's just because we have a nice size crowd to do that with. And then, so you see Paul in the picture. Not here with us online tonight is Kathy Winland, who is our director of operations, and she has a lot to do with many of the details behind the scenes of how we administer our programs, including just making sure the software is technically working in the background and applications are correct and things of that sort. Not pictured here is Colleen Bestendorf, who is our site event manager. So anytime you see us, we are all hard at work, normally on programs like this, making sure, as Paul said, you're getting the most out of that program. And so, let's get into like why design awards, right? 3 main reasons. It looks like we have another person joining us, Jessica Hable. Let her in. Sorry, Jessica, we just got through with introductions. I'll circle right back and get to you, but I'm going to get through these 3 reasons first of the design awards, which is basically to celebrate outstanding design. We all want to make sure that once we've accomplished things, people are able to see what we consider, you know, setting the bar in our state, and we'll get to that at the end as well. To recognize our architects, their clients, I think that's important. The industry partners, obviously important. So engineers, contractors, people who've contributed greatly to the project, we want to recognize them as well. And the communities that are represented for achieving design excellence locally and globally. We want to give people something, you know, to brag about and to help make their arguments for doing even more good work in the future. And then we want to set a standard in Oregon for design excellence based on the framework for design excellence, which, by the way, was developed in large part by one of our own members, Corey Squire, who serves as our at-large strategic counselor for AIA nationally. So volunteers his time and has a deep commitment to seeing these things through, just not at a professional and personal level, but operationally for us all through the Institute, which I think, you know, since it originates in Oregon, we kind of have a responsibility to making sure that remains intact and with a high level of integrity. So in general, and we're right at the beginning, every year, our timeline looks like we open the award period where we announce jurors and alert members to any new program elements. There aren't any this year, but I will tell you we have some coming. Kent and Paul as staff participate in our Honors and Awards Task Force, which has been meeting this year. It was just started this year, and task force sounds like what it is. It's not a standing committee. It's only going to meet for a brief period of time here this year to offer up recommendations. One of which we will institute this year, which is you'll have there'll be a longer description permitted. I think we had a 150-word description, and that will still exist. We do need a summary that's short enough to read, you know, for a quick statement. Then we'll also expand a description to 300 to 500 words to really try and help and encourage people to suss out and describe in more detail those framework for design excellence elements that they have spoken to in their project. So the program elements are announced, entry forms go live, which just happened today on the T at 3, if you get that in your mailbox. Otherwise, we'll have the links up online. And jurors are advertised, which did happen. And we'll get to that in this presentation as well. You'll get to see who the jurors are. Jurying, which is when the actual process of deliberation occurs, is sometime at the, you know, as soon as we close, which will be mid-August until sometime at the either end of September, early October, sometimes if we have to try and get that done as quickly as possible, because we do have some materials to turn around for presentation on the actual awards night. But we try and give ourselves enough time to do that. We do manage that process through proprietary software that I will talk a little bit more about, called AwardForce. And then the awards presentation, which happens this year in October, will be at Revolution Hall on October 24th. Jurors join us on stage for an in-person opportunity to share insights about the experience while awards are given. And not awardees, my bad, that's a spelling error. And before we jump into the myths and facts, then I will say, hey, Jessica, and stop my share real quick. If you want to jump in and introduce yourself, everyone else has. Happy to say hey if you are able to come on camera. And I'll also open up for, hey, you can please introduce yourself.
Sorry, I can't seem to get my video working, but I'm Jessica. I'm a marketing manager at OPSIS, and I help our teams with the submission process for the AIA Awards. I've been doing it the last few years, so just hoping to see if there's any new information to learn from that.
Awesome. You know what, that's why your name looks familiar. I have seen you on the entry stuff before. I'm like, that name looks awfully familiar. Awesome. Great. Nice to have you and thank you.
Thank you.
So also, any questions so far? I think it's pretty straightforward. We'll get into the meaty stuff here in a moment. All right. I don't see any hands raised. And nothing in the chat. So basically, I want to suss out those myths from facts here. Take the questions that might be swirling and make sure that we direct them down into actual things that are happening. Questions and things that I've heard like, oh, the design awards are just rigged and the same people win every year, is not correct. Obviously, we have, and I believe we protect a program that has had a long-standing history of integrity, and to many levels anonymity, although we'll talk about why that's a little harder to do now in the age of social media. But a very high integrity program with a trusted panel of jurors who are esteemed in the profession and consider these programs and projects that you put forth with a great amount of time. They deliberate for at least 8 hours on the first pass that we have together. And that is after having an opportunity to review all of the projects on their own, normally for a pass of 4 to 6 hours ahead of the first meeting. After that, we'll have another 2, perhaps rounds, at least one more round of deliberation for another 4 hours. So all told, at least 12 hours of in-person, and in-person is in scare quotes, it's digitally done, actual deliberation and conversation, and then probably another 6 to 8 hours on their own of just reviewing and making arguments for projects that they are interested in, want to know more about, look through the details of in order to, make a good argument about in conversation with their peers. So this year's Design Awards jury is chaired by Douglas Ito, there on the left. He is with SMR in Seattle and is the most recent Whitney Young Award winner for AIA Oregon. It is the president's task every year to pick out and choose our Design Awards jury chair, and often has close ties to what they're passionate about. John has been deeply concerned with and focused on, and I think it'll also be everyone's focus for the next few years, likely, homelessness, houselessness, and how architects have impact on homeless communities. Douglas Ito and SMR Architects have done a lot of work in multifamily housing at the intersection of resilience. And so he'll have, that's the focus probably that he'll be bringing to a lot of the conversation. It was his duty after he's been selected as the head juror to select 4 additional jurors. We give that head juror a lot of instruction about how they can make those selections. We prefer AIA members. We prefer a geographic diversity to the people. We don't want you to just pick people from your own firm. We don't want you to just pick people you know and work with constantly. We want you to make outreach to people in the craft to support the excellence program that we are putting forward. And so he's also then selected this year Dave Boucher, who is from Fusion Architects in Colorado. Ginger Thompson, AIA, who is with DPR Construction out of California, and she is the AIA California president-elect. You might recognize the fellow there, second from the end, Jason Takeuchi, AIA. He is one of your new AIA directors at large on the board of directors, and also from AIA Hawaii. He is with a firm called Ferraro Choi. And the last juror we have, this is a new one for me, we have an international AIA member, Renato Martinez, who is from Guam and is working with HDR. So this respected panel of jurors is going to take, like I said, quite a few hours to look over all the entries that are put forward, considering them against the argument that you make in your own description for the things that you say you've accomplished with the framework for design excellence, and what they understand design excellence to be. That obviously makes it a subjective process, but we try and bring some level to it by entertaining a scoring process with the rubric for the framework for design excellence. So again, I'll stop here. And before we jump into the framework elements, just ask if there's any questions about the jury, how it's composed, or where they come from. Nope. All right. I'm doing a good job. Yay. All right. Next then, that rubric that we use is the framework for design excellence. It represents the defining principles of design excellence in the 21st century. It's comprised of 10 principles and accompanied by searching questions, and it informs progress toward these 4 elements. These are the 4 things, and these are important words to maybe call out. I'll drop that hint. 0 carbon, healthy, just, resilient, an equitable built environment. So these are the bullet points that the framework, this is the party, if you will. 0 carbon, healthy, just, resilient, and equitable. That is because we believe the architect's call to protect health, safety, and welfare encompasses those things, right? It extends into the challenges of mitigating increasing climate extremes and social inequity. They go together. One does not come before the other. Architects everywhere have to recognize that our profession and every project can harness the power of design to contribute to positive, creative solutions and look great. I like to, it says most and address the most significant needs of our time and look great, right? AIA adopted the 4 outcomes in 2019 as part of the Climate Action Plan. And you can learn more about the Climate Action Plan on AIA.org by just typing it into the search bar. Also on the AIA website, very accessibly, is the framework for design excellence. And I suggest if you haven't checked it out, you should get to the page. There's a video that you can watch, not exactly informative, but pretty good use of your member dollars, if you asked me. So you might as well take a look at it. And maybe use it inside your offices too, to help promote like why we use these principles and what they mean when you get around to design awards. Maybe helping to educate the architects in your office about how to help you tell a good story, marketing folks about the elements of their building, bridging that gap between their very technical knowledge and the vocabulary that you can, use very succinctly in your descriptions to get their point across to the jurors. Those framework elements are right there on the page. You can click each one of them. There is an introduction and a glossary. You can learn about each of them and I would suggest, like I said, just kind of having a base knowledge of like what each of them mean, so that as the architects are telling you, or they have, provided you with information about the building, you can make some inferences about which ones apply, and start making a good argument toward them. I believe this is a Lever Architecture project. This is an example of an honor award winning project. We have many examples of our projects from the past several years on our AIA Oregon website under the awards tab. Paul might be able to drop that link in the chat. I believe, is this OPSIS? Somebody on the call from OPSIS? This might be OPSIS. This is a merit award winner, if I'm not mistaken, for community center. Oh. So, and I put those in here because remember what we just said. Meet all those framework elements and look amazing. Meet all those framework elements and look amazing. Or many of the framework elements. You may not hit all 10. So entry categories very quickly. We have built projects, which this date might have shifted obviously to 2025. So sorry about the dates being wrong there. It should be 2019 to 2025. Institutional architecture, oop, commercial architecture, residential architecture, interior architecture. Those are all subcategories that will ask you to self-identify underneath the built projects category, but you will not be awarded for a built project in institutional architecture. Those categories are for us to sort internally, so that as the jurors deliberate, they see projects in chunks with like types. That gets rid of often the type of comparative, like, oh, I see this element over here, or that doesn't show up over here, type of thing that often happens when they're looking at kind of just like a mismatch of all the projects at once, kind of keeping them in some organized grouping tends to help organize their thoughts as they go through the deliberations. And often as we get to the end, there'll be all of the different types, and we will have a more substantive design conversation about each of them, but on their own merits against the argument that they made in their own description. And we'll get into a little bit more of that detail as well. Oh, I see a question. Can we submit projects built in Washington State? Absolutely. If you are an Oregon firm, you can submit projects built anywhere. One of the nifty things, I'm going to stop sharing for just a second. One of the nifty things that happened as the Design Awards program has changed over the years, I remember when projects had to be submitted from like the very local place that you were submitting your awards, the projects had to be in physical location because often the jurors went to visit physically your building. Obviously, that limited each chapter's ability to actually do what Annika just asked, which is recognize projects that might have been built in another city or maybe even another state or overseas. And as we have been able to digitize the design awards process, both with the entries and with the jury deliberation, we're also able to have projects entered from a firm that are anywhere in the world. I think that we like to make sure that we highlight when we're presenting the awards where the firm is located more than necessarily where the project is, because we're celebrating Oregon and our architects and how we have, produced great work. So that matters just, a little less than like where the actual project is located. Or so hopefully not a problem. Any other questions along that line before I go on? Nope. Okay. Entry categories. All right. So again, we have built projects. Sorry about the year typo, but they fall into institutional, commercial, residential, and interior. And sometimes special projects, like things that can't be easily categorized, the jurors will sometimes set aside. We've seen things like rest areas or liquor stores, which kind of fall into institutional, but maybe aren't as big as like healthcare, religious, and government structures. All right. We also have small built projects as a category. Those are construction budgets under $500,000 or sized under 1,000 square feet. Again, those won't be awarded specifically in their own category. You will get either an honor or a merit award for design awards, period, for in the built category. But this is to help the jurors understand like exactly what they're looking at. Unbuilt projects are also awarded. Those will be awarded separately from the built projects. They have to be commissioned, again, that should say 2019 after September 2nd. Again, awards of merit or citation are presented to winning, I should say honor. Excuse me. No, sorry, I misspoke. So in the unbuilt category, and this is something our Honors and Awards Task Force can take up if members have a concern, but nobody has expressed one yet. We do not give honor awards in unbuilt because it's not built yet. And we've had this argument kind of given back to us that it can't be architecture till it's built, so we can't judge if it's worthy of an honor. So merit or citation are presented to winning unbuilt designs as determined by the jury. Unbuilt projects presented to the jury must be an actual commission for a real client and may include architecture, interior architecture, planning, urban design, and research projects. Unbuilt projects may be submitted again to the Oregon Architecture Awards Program as built projects once completed, and they can be awarded separately as built projects once completed. And now I'll also stop sharing here for just a moment and say, all of that said, every jury I've had here so far, I don't think we've given an unbuilt award. And it is because they wrangle with what's on paper and how it should turn out with actual in data and how it will actually turn out. And where they always come down is they say, tell them finish the project and come back. Because it looks like this is like almost there, or it looks like it's just about done. Like just finish and re-enter it. We want to see what this looks like when it's built. That is often the feedback that I get. And coupled with that, and we'll put this in front of the Honors and Awards Task Force for 2026, because they've done their work pretty much for 2025, is that they have also said we might want to break unbuilt awards out completely as a separate awards program that has a panel of theoreticians. I don't know how you say that word. Theoretically smart people who talk about architecture from an academic level. That type of a body should be impaneled and be completely separate from built awards. I will put that in front of your Honors and Awards Task Force to consider in the 2026 cycle. For now, this is how things are still standing. Any questions about unbuilts?
So I would just, I was only caught off guard by the comment that you haven't seen an unbuilt award given. They certainly were given when in past years. And the premise really was do the principles that work in the project portend good results, and complimenting people for putting forth a valiant effort toward making a good project. And then, so anyway, I hope the jury is open to that if they see a project worthy of commending for putting forth a good project for construction.
Every jury is different. I'm surprised every year, but this is a trend, to your point. It didn't start out this way, for sure. I have also been a part of very successful unbuilt project categories. Like in North Carolina, we gave many unbuilt theoretical awards. And to your point, were given for a great idea. They were contracted clients. They had all of the right elements in the design thinking, and therefore, needed to be commended. But it's just been a trend I've noticed from the last few juries to be very like, I wouldn't say afraid, but just they don't have the same appetite to award an unbuilt project that they used to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Back to it. All right, entry components. You are going to have a project ID page. This is all in the back end of AwardForce, and it's digital. You can copy paste from your Word editor or something like that. If you do, I will just caution you to please make sure you've converted everything to plain text, taken out any wing-dingy weird things, because they will not translate well to the AwardForce little text boxes. So please make sure your text is clean. Anonymous narrative, which we have, like I said, bumped up to the 500 words. You will be able to submit up to 18 image files. That includes photos, diagrams, combined and composite images, images that include text, and specifically if you're talking about a section or a call out or a detail, for sure, make sure that that is diagrammed and maybe both in detail and in a photo, shown on the same image. We don't have any restrictions on that other than, well, not, it's still not a restriction. Just that, keep in mind that these are still designers. Like you're fitting a lot of information on there, but these are still high-end architects who are looking for things on your page like balance and white space and readability and really good design dynamic. So consider that and be aware. If you want to participate in the 2030 award, you'll also submit climate impact calculator results. The climate impact calculator is provided to us by the University of Oregon and NIA, which is our Energy Efficiency Association partner. And they keep a running tab of how many tons of CO2 we've kept out of the atmosphere through our 2030 award entries. I think it's an amazing story we get to tell, and we encourage people to participate in that. It is additional work though, and the calculator is a 2-page spreadsheet that is relatively detailed and includes the upload of some end user data. So you do have to have general project information, and you'll need 12 months of actual energy bills, modeled energy use on an annual basis, if not actual energy usage data, and relevant energy code completion of design if neither the actual nor modeled data is available.
Heather, I'll point out that Jessica asked, should we be naming the framework on the relevant photo page?
Some have done that. It's not a bad idea. Pretty smart if you are able to do that. I think that is a very smart idea. I will also say, yeah. I will also say in your text, in your descriptive text, don't make it hard for the jurors to find which framework element you are talking about. Make it a heading and then, talk about it in the paragraph, or make it a part of the paragraph that's like, set apart from the rest of the sentence in some way so they understand that that is the element you're addressing with this part of your paragraph. If they have to search around for it, they sometimes honestly will get frustrated, and yeah, you definitely don't want that. You want them to be able to see it very quickly. Also kind of just a detail about how the scoring works, and I've been asked about this before, so it's kind of important to note. So each framework element, we ask you to speak to at least 4. So everybody's going to get scored 1 through 5 on at least 4 elements. If you can speak to more elements than that, then please do. Don't feel limited by the 4 that we say. It's at least 4. If you can speak to all 10 and do it succinctly with the word limit, then please do that. But don't make things up just to get points. If there are elements of your award or of your entry that the jurors see and say, oh, but this project does design for water, and that's not in their argument, they can score your project in a framework element that you have not described, but they see evidenced. And those things can weight your score, right? So somebody with more scores and more columns will have a higher score than others. That said, that all of the scores are taken and averaged and then turned into like a 1 through 5 score that balances everybody on the same page. So everyone has asked me if, if we have a higher score, that means that some of us are just going to get cut out automatically. No, it does not. I weight and balance those scores so that they all come back out with a 1 to 5 scaled score, and then they do a high pass, low pass, and kind of discussion of the projects in between. Hopefully that makes good sense. All right. So secrets to success. Great photography. Super important. I cannot tell you the number of times I've heard jurors say, "Oh, I wish they had better photos of that." It, it just matters to hire someone to get the right time of day, to maybe if you're talking about having a part of your building like in use, to actually have photos that show your project in use. I've heard that as well from jurors who are like, well, it would have been great to see like what that amphitheater looked like with a concert in it, or some people in it, so that we could see that dynamic they were talking about, the sight lines or like whatever. So I think that's important. If there's a part of the story that you're telling, also make sure that when the images are presented, they see that story. To be clear, basically, nobody is going to lead them through viewing each entry. They're going to have time to take a look on Award Force, but the way they're going to see it is kind of on a side-by-side screen. They'll see your images in the succession that you have submitted them, and then they will see your project summary and the larger narrative. So kind of piecing that together, they're looking at images in succession while reading your description. They're reading, then they're looking, they're reading, then they're looking. It makes good sense to make sure that things kind of coordinate, right? So that as you're still telling the story, the images also unfurl the story at the same time. Drawings, elevations, sketches, or other relevant items that explain notes you make in your narrative have to be illustrated. Please don't say that, we did this great work in a section and then there's no image of a section. That's super frustrating to them. And I will definitely give you that feedback at the end in your debrief. And to your point, if there's an element you want to make sure is clearly labeled, make sure it's easy to see. Provide context as needed, but don't think using more words means you're telling a better story. And do not exaggerate. Don't make up elements that you did not actually accomplish, that were in partnership with other people that should also get the credit for it. I've seen entries where the photography showed like actually the back end of another project that looked really good, but their project was like in the foreground and it wasn't clear from the imagery whose project they were presenting. That didn't make the jury very happy. Just like no shenanigans, basically. And I will stop here and see if there are any questions about that. Okay. That's pretty straightforward, right? Like, don't try and fool them. They're professionals. And I hate to have to add this at this point, but I have to because I also use this tool, AI. Don't rely on it. I can't imagine any of you do, but don't rely on AI to write your text. I will say, use AI to check your text. Use AI to critique your text. Ask if it's you use a presentation or some imagery or words that you see from one of our previous awards presentations online and see if you can check it for tone or clarity, or ask it to edit for these framework elements specifically, and then check its work. Don't believe it when it's done. Other no-nos. Besides not presenting disingenuous information or attempting to fool jurors, do not claim credit for work that was not yours. If you worked in collaboration, please be clear about what portion of work you were responsible for. This one is very important. If you worked on a renovation, restoration, or addition, please be clear about before and after photos and which is new work and what was not touched. The only work that will be considered is the work that was new or redone. So not say an original structure if it's been untouched and then also its addition. They're not taking in the whole picture. They will look at like what you did in relation to that other building, but they're just critiquing the new work. And then some must-dos. obviously visit the AIA Oregon website, I think, to view other winning entries from 2024 and other previous years. We have them right again under our awards tab on the website. It's kind of, you have to scroll down to the bottom of the page, but they are there. You can visit the AIA Framework for Design Excellence page and familiarize yourself with the framework, its elements, and goals achieved by employing them. Or if you know Corey Squire, maybe invite him out to a cup of coffee and see how he feels about it, because I think he's probably a smart guy to ask about it. Also, secure a good photographer. Take professional photos well before your entry. Ask other people. It's not a no-no to like connect with your community. Us, obviously, by email directly, you can call or text, but some of the most successful award entrants that I've seen in other states happened when they asked their competitors to critique them, or they got together in a group and said, hey, let's just all put our awards up against each other and tell each other what we think about their entry, where it could be stronger, reorder the images. It's tweaks like that that really help get you across the finish line, and also reach our secondary goal with this program, which is creating a sense of community, right? So I also want to say that the point of this program is to elevate, just kind of circling it back to the beginning, and set a bar, right, of excellence. Well, that happens also by getting a debrief, even if you don't win. So, and I would say maybe, please, especially if you're not awarded, book time with me to get your juror feedback. I do actually, keep all of the jury feedback and take notes. They are required on all of the entries in the digital back end to make notes on each project that I can comment or share back with the entrant, to make improvements, be constructive, offer any insight into how they can improve that entry in a future attempt. And because it's our goal to help you explain the integrity and the excellence of your project. We're not, we hope we get more winners than not. And so with that, I guess I'll address the last myth, which is that we have a set number of awards that we're going to give out. That is completely untrue. We have, in general, since I've been here, averaged out of our 65 to 80 entries, between 8 and 14 awards, right? So there is kind of a general number that we seem to fall into, but I have been a part of juries in other places where in some years no projects were awarded. I haven't seen that in many, many years, and it was an all New York jury, which will never happen again under my tenure. But that was particularly brutal. And so, yeah, hopefully with the type of geographic mixing up of things that we have and practice types and things that we do now, that won't happen again. But we don't have a set number. We do not tell the jurors from the beginning what they have to do. We just tell them what the bar is for critique, right? So there's honor, which is the very highest excellence level has been met, and they cannot find flaws basically with this project. Merit means that this project was executed really, really well. They don't think that if it were resubmitted, it would elevate to an honor award with a better argument or better photography or other things. Like, this is just kind of where this project rests. It's an excellent project and deserves commendation. Citations are also given. Those awards, those are tough for the jury to give. And I asked them very specifically to make sure that they are sure, again, that without some very good critique and comments back, that this entry couldn't be resubmitted to win a merit, at least a merit award. Because if you give it a citation, it can't be re-entered later for a merit or an honor award. So I do ask them to deliberate those and give those the most critical feedback if they don't award it, so that that person or that firm might be able to make a much better entry next time and reach that next level. And that's all the myths I know. I'm going to open it up here with the last few minutes we have to see if there are some that I missed or any other things you might have questions about. But hopefully that gives you an overview of, how we do this and what to expect. And yeah, demystified, hopefully. Solved all your problems. Thoughts? Questions? No? Seriously? I did it? We won? Okay. Hardly ever happens. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody showing up. I hope that if you encounter any issues while you are preparing the entry, that you will reach out to us. Like I said, please call, email, or text the number that is on the AIA website, is my cell phone number. So you can call it or text it, and I will get that information. And yeah, feel free to reach out at any time. We will also post questions as they come in to a frequently asked questions page, or excuse me, frequently asked questions section of our awards page. So be on the lookout for that as well. And with that, I can give you 4 minutes of your evening back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.